Convicted murderer Henri Charrière escaped from a prison in French Guiana in 1933. His daring escape inspired a book called Papillon, and he wouldn't be the last person to make an escape from the French colony. South African Alex de Bruin served in the French Foreign Legion in South America. He grew tired of his military life and decided to escape modern-day Devil's Island by sea. Joins us now to discuss his remarkable story on the book that he's written about it. Well, I'm very glad to have you here.
Jane, thanks for
Was it touch and go? Did you think at some stage that you were just never going to make it back to any sort of safety?
Yeah, I think that was about every single day's feeling. So every single day you kind of wake up and just hope to make it to the next. And by that time, nothing else really matters. It's purely survival.
Okay, take us back. Firstly, why did you leave? Reading through your book, you came from a happy home, everything was going well, but you just wanted, a little bit of excitement?
Yeah, I think most boys at that age, well, I hope so, are a bit lost, right? I just finished my degree, and it didn't give me the sense of excitement that I wanted. So I've always been grown up to dream big and imagine the world is my oyster. And I really wanted to go out and find that story. Obviously, watching a lot of YouTube videos and American movies, you create a false perception of what the world is out there. And I wanted to go find out for myself. And that was really it. It was kind of interest that led me there and made me make the decision.
And obviously, I can see you're quite buffed and fit now. Obviously that contributed to doing a sort of really manly thing, joining the French Foreign Legion. Why then? Why them? And explain to us what sort of experience it was.
Yeah, so the French Foreign Legion, I've always had an interest in the military. After in South Africa, we obviously weren't forced to go back to the military, so I kind of tried to think of what other options there were. The French military had an easy option to get into, the French Foreign Legion being for foreign nationals. And as soon as you knock on the door, they will take you in and make sure that you fit their criteria to fit into.
Which is what?
So it's as long as you don't have a intense criminal past.
What does that mean, intense criminal past?
So it's obviously debatable to what length of criminal conviction they would let you in or not. I think most of the guys there are just normal guys looking for either something to do, some excitement, or some other different way of life. We didn't come across too many criminals. However, there are certain guys that do run away from their past, and it is a good option to do that. You get issued with a new name, and it is an environment where you can restart. You can press the
And why the new name?
I think it originally came from the tradition that it was set up for criminals to be able to go and do that, and that tradition stuck. They have switched it out back and forth where you do keep your previous name. The time that I joined, we still had to change our names. But I have heard lately that you do have the option to keep your own name. So I think it's a tradition that has just stuck with the romantic essence of the Legion.
And what are you expected to do when you're there?
So I think it's a big difference between what you're expecting from the Legion and what the Legion expects from you. I think it's a very structured, very normal military force as any other is there. They are a Green Beret Special Forces within the French military, and you fall within the French military ranks. So you train as if you are French, you expect to be deployed as if you were French, and you would do that as any other military force in the world. After basic training, you do ask where you could be deployed to. I ended up in French Guiana, in the Amazon. The main mission there's the European Space Center, and the main goal is to protect the perimeter or to patrol the perimeter during launches. In your off time, you do patrol the Amazon rivers and the borders for illegal drugs. There's a lot of gold smuggling out there, and really illegal import of any goods from the neighboring countries. So French Guiana trade in the euro, so it is a great place for the neighboring countries to import anything, and you see them importing. Did
you see a lot of action?
We saw some, not much. It's not a war zone, right? No. So it's very unstructured. The gold miners are very protective of their turf. They're very protective of their goods, understandably so. But the Legion is a respected force. So when you come across them, they tend to stand back. So it is not a war zone. So we didn't expect to see too much.
tell us what led to the depression, because sadly I'm just sort of engrossed in the story, and I wish we could talk for long, but we don't have much time. What led to the depression, you wanting to leave, and the orders to kill?
So I think, and it's probably consistent with any military, right? So if you're not at war, what do you do as a soldier, right? And there's not much. So boredom is a big element, and I think it's consistent across all militaries. And if you're bored for a long period of time, it leads to interesting things, right? So a lot of people tend to go to drugs, others go to alcohol, and depression is a big part of that. And if you don't do something about it, it will consume your whole life, normally negatively. And that's ultimately what led to my decision to leave and do then the daring escape across the Amazon. And once you leave, you do leave the protection of the Legion. They don't give you a passport back. You are on your own. And that took us 6 months to get back home. We were stuck in the Amazon without an identity, which caused many issues along the way. I ended up being caught by the Surinamese police, who thought I was a French spy. They kept me.
Obviously it didn't help if you got 2 names and don't have a passport.
Exactly, and they're very difficult to explain. And people don't understand that. Understandably, they wouldn't understand it. So they make up their own assumptions, and they tend to go down a narrative that they've already conceived. So they don't give you an option to explain it. So I spent some time in the Surinamese prison because they thought I was a French spy, and then ultimately had to make an escape.
How?
On a boat. So we bought a boat from a couple of fishermen up in Trinidad. We almost sunk it, or Connor almost sunk it, and it was sinking. And by the time we hit the Atlantic, it was leaking very slowly, but it was yet leaking.
Frightening.
Yeah. We then hit land, which put more damage to the boat, and ended up drifting at sea for another consecutive 10 days. We got stuck in the doldrums, and the Guiana current floated us up to Trinidad and Tobago, where 6 months later I eventually got to a South African embassy who managed to help me and get a passport back home.
And I should imagine that you learned a lot from that adventure, if you want to call it that experience, horrific at times. Where's it left you now?
So it's quite interesting. I'm now part of a great team in a company called DOSHX, and we're really trying to use distributed ledger technologies and blockchain to break up the way traditional businesses are done. And I think it's driven a lot of that in terms of how I see the future, and how I see the businesses and hierarchical structures, and what does work and what does not work, and has built a lot of that ability that I can maneuver where I believe that technology will take us.
And staying at home with your family?
A lot.
Alex de Bruin, very good to talk to you.
Jane, thanks so much.
Thank you.